Welcome to another edition of the Ball Washer Podcast. Here is your host, Ryan Logan.
All right, hey everybody, what's going on? It's Ryan here. Another edition of the Ball Washer Podcast from PXG here, PXG Detroit in Troy. Got AJ Partinio once again. Today it's all about fitting wedges. We're going to show you everything that goes into fitting the wedges. But first, I want to talk a little bit PXG on tour. Eric Cole at the Zozo Championship, second place, strong finish, but he has been on the map all year, right? He's been finishing top 10s, just a great player all year, very consistent. What's it like having a guy like that who's been basically for mini tours, worked his way all the way up onto the PGA Tour? What's it like having that kind of guy on PXG staff?
Yeah, we're just really happy to have some PXG staffers with some tour presence that are really performing well. Really shows you how well the golf clubs are performing. And he's just a great guy in general. So a quick side story about Eric Cole. He could obviously play in a lot of PGA Tour events, and he decided one week to skip it. And he played in an event that he used to play in as a mini tour pro. This family was very nice and let him play in the field.
Oh, okay.
And so he played in it, won, made some money, and that's how he kind of started one of his professional careers, the run.
Right.
So this year they invited him again, and instead of playing a PGA Tour event where he could have made millions, he decided to play in that event. He won by a good portion, and then he actually donated all the money back to the family to put towards the event for future years. So
see, that's the cool stuff, and to me, you don't see that with some of these guys that have been top of the game since day one. Because it's like, why do I got to go down and play that? But a guy like Eric Cole, who's worked his way up and now on PXG staff, it's like, man, it's good for everybody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we have a good presence on Korn Ferry Tour, LPGA Tour, and our staff players on the tour, obviously doing pretty well with Eric Cole.
Yeah,
Joel Damon's also a lot of fun, and his caddy, Chino.
God, that guy just blew up, Joel, absolutely. I'm actually working on having him on the audio side of the Ball Washer Podcast, so look out for that one. That'll be a cool kind of combo point as well. But you ready to get after some wedges?
Yeah,
today,
let's do it.
Let's go. All right, hey everybody, we're back. Ball Washer Podcast. AJ Partinio from PXG getting ready to show you what goes into fitting wedges. Now, what do you got for us, man? Let's take it away here.
So I got our two main models of wedges. What we have here, we have our 0311 forged wedge. This is a 3x forged wedge, full face grooves, so we're a little bit different, kind of hard to see, but full face grooves all the way across with a little bit of high toe relief. So this wedge has only one bounce option. We got 50 down to 60, bunch of different lofts available, and it's available in chrome, and it also is available in black. So chrome and black. If you ask me, the black looks pretty cool.
Yeah, hands down, the black is the top one for me.
So that's our more normal price wedge. It comes with our Gen 5 product with our Gen 5 full bag, and then we have our Sugar Daddy. So our Sugar Daddy is our 100% CNC milled wedge. So it takes about 6 hours to make one of these bad boys.
Wow.
The cool thing about these wedges are just like the 0311, it's full face groove, has a little high toe relief there to help you out. But yeah, it takes a long time to make them, and everyone is exactly the same. So if you look and you talk about tour players, they get a new wedge, their wears out. The other manufacturers sometimes hand them 4 or 5 wedges, and they pick one out of the bunch because they're all a little bit different.
Right. Okay.
Ours are all exactly the same. So every single one is exactly the same. The other cool thing is that since it's CNC milled, we can go a little deeper in our grooves, closer down to that tolerance line, because there's a recommendation or requirement of what you need to be for the USGA.
Right.
But then there's a tolerance. So we can go past the recommendation and go all the way down to the tolerance. So we have one of the spinniest wedges in golf.
Oh, so that's something I didn't even know I thought you had to be right up to that regulation line.
Yeah, but then there's a variant. So we're very spinny. We're a very spinny wedge,
which is great for the everyday golfer or the weekend golfer who's going out with his buddies. Let the club do a little bit more of the work for you.
Exactly. And we have 2 different grind options. So we have our C grind, which is our lower grind, and all the wedges has 10 degrees of bounce. And then we have a BP grind, obviously after Bob Parsons, which has a little bit higher bounce. So for wedges, a lower bounce, you probably want to use firm ground conditions, or someone that's very shallow or like picks their wedges clean.
Okay.
Anybody that takes bigger divots like myself, or wants a little extra love, or is playing on really soft conditions, like Bay Point around here always comes to mind, because that's my home course growing up in college or in high school. Very soft course, you want a little extra bounce.
Always,
so
man.
It kind of depends on your what course you're playing and what kind of your stroke type or everything you're doing there.
Okay.
But so that would be the wedges. These go down from 50 all the way down to 50 or 62, and then we can bend them too strong, too weak, upright, flat, everything we need to do, just like your irons.
So anything you need, you just stop in here, figure it out. Obviously, you can see behind me, we're going to hit some golf balls and show you, but they can make it exactly how you want it, just like you saw last episode with the putter.
Yeah, and the cool thing about PXG is, so our full bag fittings, that's our kind of most popular thing that we do. So we offer all 14 clubs, hat, bag, and a dozen golf balls for a variety of prices based on our generations. But what it is you have to have a driver and you have to have a putter, but everything else in the middle is a la carte. So, if it's someone that wants 3 wedges or 4 wedges or 5 wedges or even only 2 wedges, everything that we make is custom to the person we're fitting. Okay. So you get to pick, right? If you're a guy that wants more hybrids or, needs a little bit extra fairway woods and you don't need as many wedges, then you'd only have 1 or 2.
Right.
But like me, I use 4 to 5 wedges. So I like to have because the top end of the bag, I don't have to use it that often. After you hit a drive a good distance,
right.
Sometimes you don't need to hit it 270 or 280. So, it's nice to have an extra wedge instead of a 3-wood.
Yeah, so absolutely.
It all depends on the person you're fitting. So we have all these wedges, and then we also have. I wanted to say the Sugar Daddy The Sugar Daddy's in black as well, so it looks pretty sweet. But we also have all of our sets have a gap wedge too. So if you're looking for if you're a guy that doesn't chip at all with your gap wedge, you just use it for full shots. Might be more beneficial to use a Gen 6 gap wedge that matches your irons.
Okay.
Because that way it's a little bit more forgiving. It's going to match your irons, launch a little higher in the air, probably get a little more distance out of it. If you're a guy that likes to chip with his 50 or trying to hit it to an exact yardage, then maybe you want to go the Sugar Daddy route.
Right.
It all depends on the person. But that's the benefit of PXG is we kind of just tailor a fit to the person that we're taking care of that day.
Can't say it any more times. Anything you need, exactly what you want, you're going to find it when you're here at PXG.
Yep. And then the cool thing, we're the only company that has this. We have this screw in the back of our irons, which we'll go over later on podcasts when we do the irons. But it also applies to our wedges. So, if you have a wedge and you want to throw a big grip on the end of it, you need to add some extra weight to the head. Or if you make it shorter, longer, whatever,
right.
We can adjust the swing weight with this screw. So, and in the fitting process, we can adjust it. So you get to try it with a little heavier or a little lighter to see if that's the feeling you like.
Yeah.
Some people like heavy wedges to get through the grass.
Right.
When you're hitting chip shots. So sometimes people add a little extra weight into the head, or maybe if they play like a Elevate 95 stiff in the irons, they might go to our tour model stiff in the wedges because they want it a little heavier.
Okay.
Because you're not taking full swings with them.
Right.
You're more of a 3/4 knockdown shot, or you're a controlled shot. You're not trying to hit it as hard as you possibly can.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Yeah, most of the time with wedges, you're not hitting a full shot. And here in Michigan, a lot of times you're playing in wet, heavy rough.
Yep.
So to have a little heavier coming through it
Mm-hmm.
helps you out. Absolutely.
So what wedges do you play? Like what lofts? What do you do? You have gap wedge?
Right now, I have 3 in my bag. I got a 56, 54, and a 60.
54 and a 56?
Yeah.
Not much separation
See,
there.
exactly. That's why I'm here, so you can show me how to do this when it comes time to doing my own clubs.
Do you have a pitching wedge and a gap wedge?
I have a pitching wedge.
So you have pitching wedge at 54.
Right.
And you have the old Nike clubs, right?
Yeah.
So those are older and they're a player's club. So I would say the pitching wedge is probably like 46 to 48 degrees.
Okay.
And then your next wedge is 54. So you got a 6-degree gap, and then your next wedge is 56. You got a 2-degree gap. So what the big thing is,
and most of the time, AJ, I haven't been using that 54. If anything, I'll go from my pitching wedge to the 56
mm-hmm.
and then to the 60.
Yeah.
Which really, there's not a big gap in between that 56 and the 60
mm-hmm.
as well. So,
but is there a big gap between your 56 and your pitching wedge?
Yes.
When you like to fill that with like a 50-degree. Right? 50, 52 degrees, something like that.
Right.
So another thing to pay attention with wedges is every company is making their clubs strong. They're so strong lofted. So like a pitching wedge in today's age is like 42 to 44 degrees when it used to be 48 degrees 20 years ago.
Okay.
So when everyone goes, I'm going to go to pitching wedge and I'm going to get 52, 56, 60, if your pitching wedge is 42 degrees or 44 degrees, then you're going to have a large gap again.
Right.
So you got to pay attention to what your set makeup is, right? So A lot of times.
Never thought of that.
Yeah.
Never thought of that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So that's going to be one of the most important things is when we build out your set. Today, we won't really go over what lofts are going to be perfect for you. We'll have a recommendation, but it's kind of going to be based off what pitching wedge or gap wedge you get.
Right.
And then we can adjust the lofts in the line from there. Right. So today we'll kind of focus on hitting some wedges so you can feel the difference between them. Maybe throw a couple different shafts in them and see what you like, heavy, light, whatever that case is, and then kind of go over grind. We'll let you hit a few shots at some different targets and kind of get you a good baseline. And then once we do the irons, we'll probably tie back in the wedges to make sure the shafts and everything are compatible because you're probably going to swing a 7-iron a lot faster than the wedge.
Right.
So we just want to make sure the wedges are matched up to the current specs of your 7-iron.
Makes sense.
All right.
Makes sense. That's why you're here.
Yeah. Perfect.
All right.
All right. Well, let's get you started here. We'll have you start with our 0311 forged. So 0311 forged. This is just a 60 degree. What you're going to do is you're going to put the ball kind of right in front of that tee there on the ground. There you go. And you can go forward in the mat in the middle. It doesn't matter. Wherever you're comfortable.
We'll go here so I'm still pretty close to the camera there so they can get a good look at it.
Hit a few shots. It's only a 60 degree, so you don't have to hit it full. Whatever is comfortable for you. Nice. Nice little tight draw. So when you hit your 60 degree, are you playing for more of a specific number, or is it just anything under a certain number?
Anything under, say, 75. I've been, especially this summer, I've been working on it. I've got my buddies yelling at me, dude, instead of trying to hit a knockdown pitching wedge or something like that, or the 56, go a full 60. And I don't really love doing that. I mostly use the 60 around the greens for little touch shots, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I would love to be able to hit a full wedge from a distance that I know, rather than I think trying to take something off a club or add a little bit more to it. So but to answer your question, I think most of my 60 degree is around greens.
Yeah.
I get a little nervous with full 60s, man. Like I'm going to just pop right under it.
Yeah. So the thing is like, so I don't carry a 60. I carry a 58. But my 58, I could probably hit it like 115 yards. But I only play my full 58 is 100 yards. That's what I play it as.
Okay.
I don't try to hit it 115.
Right.
Right. So that's you got to figure out what a full comfortable yardage is for you. If that's 60, if that's 70, whatever, you don't want to feel like you're hitting as hard as you possibly can. Just a nice 3/4 swing, trying to get it to a specific number. That way, on a par 5, if you're 200 yards out, or let's say you're 300 yards out, and you're like, well, I can't get there, but if I lay this up to 75 yards, I know I'm going to knock this close.
Right.
So then you purposely lay up to 75 yards. You know that your 60 goes 75 yards or 60 or whatever.
Hitting a nice easy one.
Yep.
Setting yourself up for a nice shot.
Kind of my rule of thumb is, you said knockdown shots, is like if the pin is in the front, I usually take like a 60 or 58 and hit a higher shot that's going to land soft. If the pin is in the back, I might use my 54 degree and do the knockdown where it's going to hit and kind of roll towards that back of the
right.
pin. So it kind of depends where the ball's at too.
Yeah.
Where the pin's at, and if you're in the rough or the fairway, that kind of stuff.
Okay, and I've always kind of went for the full shot just because and I don't know, obviously this could be a lot to do with my clubs, but I hit the ball pretty high.
Mm-hmm.
And to try to loft it down and hit it sometimes turns into a blade more often than not. So I'd rather just, try to give myself a full shot where I know it's going to go high, land it soft, and hope that works out rather than trying to roll it back to it, because I get nervous of blading it.
Yeah. Well, the other thing is, if you buy just a stock wedge off a shelf, a lot of them have like a pretty weak S200 true temper shaft in there. So that could be one of the reasons why you hit it high.
Okay.
So the shaft is also important in the wedge, which a lot of people don't realize.
Right, which is we covered on the last episode.
Yeah.
Half of my clubs are from the garage. So
yeah. I actually found a really cool stat a couple years ago. After like 25 rounds, your wedge spins like half as much as it did when it was brand new. And after 75 rounds, it's like 3/4 as much as it's spun from previous. So, I mean, that's why I get new wedges every year, but I also play a lot and practice a lot.
Right.
But it all depends on how many rounds you play. But yeah, wedges are super important. They save you. They can save you a lot. You hit a bad drive, you punch it out by the green, you get up and down. It's an easy par.
How many times do you see that on tour where guys can really save themselves a big number with a wedge in their hand?
The biggest difference on the tour guys is on their really, really bad days, they're still under par.
Right.
Right? They hit a few good shots, make a couple putts, and then they hit a lot of bad shots and save it and get up and down. And their bad rounds are still under par. Versus you get amateurs where they're, they go out and they're playing and they miss the green, they chip it on to like 20 feet, and then they three putt. So they're just adding a lot of shots to their score. So wedges are super important. Just like putter was, wedges are important as well. You use them a lot, especially if you're an amateur. Or someone that doesn't hit the ball super far, you're kind of chipping on almost every hole.
Exactly.
Right? So
you're off the green. You got to play on, hopefully get it close, knock it in for a par. And par golf is for amateurs, man. You can't beat it.
Yeah, par golf, even bogey golf would be solid, right?
Right.
So if you can make sure you got a wedge you can chip it up to 10 feet or less and two putt every time, you most likely aren't going to make much worse than 5. So yeah, wedges are super important. Short game's super important.
Yep.
So let's see you hit a couple more with that. How does that one feel to you?
This just feels good. I love these grips on them.
Yeah, that's our Lampkin Z5 PXG grip.
All right.
51 yards. All right, so now I'm going to jump you into, this is a 58 degree, with a little lower bounce, and this is our Sugar Daddy.
Okay.
So you should feel a little bit difference in what it feels like to you, but I want you to let me know what you think it feels like, all right? Let me just tag this one a little differently here on TrackMan. Yeah, cool story about the Sugar Daddy wedges. Apparently, when we first came out with wedges, we had our milled wedge, and Lydia Coe used to be one of our staffers.
Yep.
And she would call Bob Parsons her Sugar Daddy, and that's why he named the wedge Sugar
That's
Daddy.
where it came from?
Yep.
When I was online looking at the different wedges before we came into today, I was wondering where that name came from.
Yep, that's where it came from. Yeah, one of our original staffers. Not bad there.
That was not good.
Still not that bad of a miss, though. It's only, 8 feet, 9 inches to the right. You can make a 9-footer, right?
Oh, yeah. I was draining the 10-footers last episode all day long.
We got you dialed in.
Tried a little bit more on that one.
Yep. How does that wedge feel compared to the 0311?
I like this feel a little bit more. Is this a little lighter than that one? Or am I just got
the headweight could be the swing weight could be a touch different, but it should just be the way it feels to you.
Yeah.
The face probably feels extremely softer when it comes off.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah, that must have been what it was, because I could just feel like I was coming through the ball a little bit easier.
Yeah, so I've played a bunch of different wedges over the years. But the Sugar Daddies, in my opinion, spinniest wedge in golf, and they feel like butter coming off.
Right.
It's
that last one I hit felt great.
Yeah. So let me go grab you a different shaft here, and go from there. That's our normal tour shaft. I'm going to throw you an upgraded shaft.
Okay.
So
good.
The difference in the two, this is a 56, so all of our fitting heads are 56, and we have the two different grinds. I got you in the C grind, based on your angle of attack, kind of a shallow angle of attack. So
that's what I know I've always played too.
Just for standard bounce.
Yeah, standard bounce.
Yeah, so this is like, I would say our C grind is very close to industry standard.
Okay.
I wouldn't say it's low, it's just lower than our BP grind. So this is our steel fiber 95. It's going to feel a little lighter to you, but it might be a good shaft for your irons. It's one of our upgraded shafts, so it's just going to have a different feel. I wanted to give it a go.
All right. Like that feel.
Well, we added about almost 10 yards there.
Really like that feel.
Yeah.
I felt like I was really just easy coming through it.
Yeah, sometimes you don't need a super heavy shaft in your wedge.
Right.
Right? Solid again.
Right on it again.
Right on the line. 2 feet 10 inches. You know with that Apache, you're going to make that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's a birdie. Mark it down.
Birdie.
Mark it down on the card. So do you not like the 60 or you like the 58 better?
I'll be honest with you. I feel like the 58's better for me just because the fact that with the 60, like I said, I think I mentally am scared of it when I'm trying to hit a nice full wedge.
Yeah.
And out on the golf course, if you golf with me, you can see that because I think my swing changes when I get a 60 in my hand and I want to go full with it. But
yeah, I switched this year from I used to always play like a 56 and a 60. And then like a 52 or 50, depending on what my pitching wedge loft was.
Yeah.
But like, you know, if your pitching wedge is 46, then a 50 degree, 54 degree, 58 degree could be a perfect setup for you.
Right.
Because that could gap us out for the set. So you're going to hit one about 10, 15 yards farther each one. And we'll kind of make sure that set goes all the way through. So you don't have to hit as many knockdown shots. You don't have to hit as many, trying to hit it really high. You know, you can just hit some more stock shots and cover a greater yardage, so your score should drop right there.
Right,
just
for players like me, that's what you want, right?
Yeah.
You want to be able to grab a club and go, all right, I know this is going to go this far if I hit it good.
Exactly.
Instead of going, you know what, let me hit this one 3/4 and hope it does what I want it to do.
Yeah.
It's built in for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
We want you to have the 4 wedges, right? So your pitching wedge, 50 degree, 54 degree, 58 degree, and that will kind of go through your whole set, and that way your yardages, like you said, will be a little more exact. And then instead of doing 3/4, you can always just like choke down to the bottom of the grip, take 5 yards off.
Yep.
Right? So different, or you can change the height if you hit it higher or lower. So that would probably be the route we go. We kind of like the low bounce, our option, our C grind.
Yeah.
50, 54, 58. So I'll make sure I put those notes in. And then once we get your iron shafts figured out, we'll kind of mess around with shafts a little bit more for your wedges. I do like the way you swung that steel fiber, though.
Yeah, it felt good.
Yeah.
It felt good, and it just, felt good, and it obviously looked better, too, on the board here. So
Yeah, so now what we're going to do is we're going to kind of kick you over into our range area where we have different targets. So I'll set it up where you hit it 50 yards, 30 yards, 80 yards, and you can kind of really kind of dial in your wedge and see what it feels like to you.
Let's do it. Yeah, we're back.
All right, we're back. Ryan, I'm going to have you start off here. This is a little 60-yard shot off of a fairway here to that back right pin. So this is something I want you to try. See what that grind feels like. I know it's on the mat, but see what it feels like to you. See if you can dial in that 60-yard shot.
All right. Get out. Hammered that.
We put that new wedge shaft in for him, that steel fiber, and hit that last one 84 yards. He's only supposed to hit it 60. So let's try to dial this one back a little bit.
Dial it back a touch here. Get down.
Just a little long, right?
A little long on it.
It's all right. It's coming off solid.
Those all feel great, though.
Yeah.
And now it's just about
right
the
over the flag
control.
stick, right?
Right.
So when you have these kind of shots, look at that one. That one's going to hit right there and stops on a dime.
Boom.
Right next to the hole.
Cool, man. So you guys saw it. That's the wedges. And like you said, you use this, and then you go off your irons and bring everything together to create one complete bag that you know is going to drop your scores and make you a better golfer.
Yeah.
Awesome. Anything else you want to add, man?
No, just if you guys ever want to come out to PXG Detroit, you guys can give us a call here at the store, or just come out to the store. We're located in Troy, 2830 West Maple, kind of a mile short of Somerset. So we'd love to have you guys come in. Make sure you let us know that you were watching the Ball Washer Pod, and we'll be looking forward to having you guys come.
Awesome. Until next time, guys, we'll see you from PXG Detroit here. Ooh, I love this wedge.